Why hello there, and welcome to Some Weirdo on the Internet Reviews a fairly popular role-playing game. It was bound to happen eventually. Troika was released in 2016 by the Milsonian Arts Council, and is a game that I had never actually heard of until this year's Zine Quest, when like a third of the projects were Troika based. So I figured I might as well check it out. So, let's do that. Troika is set in a science fantasy setting, quote,
in which players travel by eldritch portal and non-Euclidean labyrinth and golden sail barge between the countless crystal spheres delicately strung across the humpbacked sky.
And that's pretty much it. Okay, there is more to be gleaned from the descriptions of the other content in the game, but there's not really any kind of base explanation of the setting, which is kind of unfortunate because it sounds like a really interesting setting from what you are given, but you are only given these details, so you don't really have a good base of the setting to build upon and expand. So it's kind of a situation of like, thumbs up for a really interesting and unique setting, but kind of a thumbs down for it not being explained incredibly well, and the two just kind of even out. But yeah, now that we've discussed the where, let's get on to the who. Character creation is fairly simple. We start by determining our skill rating with 1d3 plus 3, stamina with 2d6 plus 12, and luck with 1d6 plus 6. Then we get some base equipment, including 2d6 silver pence, and roll 2 more d6 to determine our background, and it seems this character is a skeptical Lamasu. Okay. Backgrounds provide additional equipment and advanced skills, and in this case we also get 3 random spells, so there we go. And that's it. Pretty easy. In fact, it was so easy, let's make 6 more. So, that was character creation, and I think the big thing that it comes down to is, how random do you like your character generation? Because this is very random character generation, and it does that very well. It is quick and simple and has a lot of options with 36 different backgrounds for your characters, but it is very much out of your hands. The only decisions that you have to make really are choosing between 2 or 3 equipment options in some of the backgrounds. But that is very much a matter of taste. Do you like randomness or control? The only thing that's really an issue for me is the skill score, which I will get to in a bit, but is basically a randomly generated value that determines how good your character is at everything. Basically, when you need to make a check, you add your skill score to any relevant advancedness you have in said skill, then try to roll equal to or under that with 2d6. So just for example, let's say our character wanted to do some fancy flying, we would take our advanced skill for fly, which is 3, and add our skill score, which is 6, so we need to roll equal to or under 9 to succeed. And while it is all very simple, the issue is that even with a maxed out skill score of 6, your chance of succeeding on a skill that you are not advanced in is fairly low. And the 2 points of variance in your skill score accounts for a 25% shift in probability, so the numbers aren't great here. Now, combat is a little different. Not just from the regular rules, just in general, it is different, as you will soon see. Combat starts by assembling the initiative stack. We add 2 tokens for each character. Let's just take our skeptical Amasu and one of those other characters we made. And let's say that they're fighting a Piscean, which has 2 initiative tokens, and a Living Dead, which has 1. And lastly, the end of round token. We put all of the tokens into a container, and combat can now commence. Initiative is determined by randomly drawing out tokens, so let's draw one, and it is one of the enemy tokens, which means that any enemy can act, so the Piscean leaps into action. Both parties make an attack roll, which is done by rolling 2d6 and adding your skill and advanced skill. And regardless of who initiated, whoever rolls highest deals damage. And our claws deal damage as a sword, so we roll on the sword damage table and deal 6 damage, which is enough to take out the Piscean and make it look kinda silly for the attempt. Next up is our Lamassu, and not wanting to repeat the Fishman's Folly, we'll cast Firebolt at the living dead. So we spend 1 stamina and roll for the spell, and the zombie rolls to dodge. We succeed and roll damage on the Firebolt table for 7 damage. Then we draw again, and it is the end of the round. So we add all the tokens back to the stack, except for the 2 from the defeated Piscean, so we actually need to remove 1, and these are gone. Now it's round 2, and our Lamassu is up again, so let's just go in claws ablazing. And we hit for 6 damage, and with the last enemy gone, this battle is over. And that was combat, and I believe it goes without saying, very interesting initiative system. And once again, it does come down to a thing of how random you want your game, because in the system, you could have 2, 1, or 0 turns in a round, and it is hypothetically possible that you could have an entire combat where the players never actually get a turn. Although the system where a melee exchange can go in either direction regardless of who initiated it does an awful lot to overcome that particular issue. Although it also does give a significant advantage to ranged attacks. Also, the shift in combat from the roll under system to a, add 2 dice system makes the previously mentioned issue with the probabilities not relevant for combat. So, yeah. Overall, it is very much a thing where you can see why some people would like it, and you can also see very much why some people would not like it. Personally, I like to see these core parts of games like initiative and combat being experimented with and done differently, especially in a situation like this where those changes they make actually work. So, personally, I like it. You might not. Troika does also provide a good amount of content in addition to the 36 backgrounds. There are also 36 enemies, 74 spells, and a fairly lengthy introductory adventure, so for as light of a game as it is also a very complete game. Everything is also written fairly well, and interestingly, as I stated before in the setting, the descriptions of things give you little peeks into the lore of the setting. Unfortunately, you don't get a lot of it. That was my complaint there, but it doesn't really factor in here. The issue is that things are explained very well and interestingly, especially with all of the new and different rules that there are in this game. They make sure to explain everything very clearly, in some cases even explaining why things are done a particular way, which I normally don't like, but in this case, yeah, that initiative system maybe does require a little bit of justification. The book itself is also fairly nice, kinda standard, but aesthetically pleasing layout, good breaks, and thematically appropriate art throughout, and the pages of each section are actually color-coded, which is a cool little touch that I happen to like. And there we have it. Troika. A game that, honestly, I didn't really like at first, but as I was doing this review, it started to grow on me, and I feel like that is the experience. There's a lot of stuff that is very different, and it can be a bit off-putting at first, but once you get used to the eccentricities and start to see how they all have their purpose, it starts to feel like a much better game. Although, once again, it does very much come down to how much control you like in your game, because this game does take a lot of control out of your hands, and if that is not something you like, this would not be something you like. Alright, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. That's what all the cool people are doing these days, and check out some of the other content that is floating around the screen right now. Some of it might be to your tastes. Well, until next time.